It's Friday. It's Friday. I hope you had a great week. Very productive week. Thank goodness it's Friday. Okay, let me see here. I need to just check. Nope. All right. Okay. Okay, 𝗪𝗵𝗲 Talk 2026. This is our it's Friday from 3 to 5. 𝗪𝗵𝗲 Talk is a 𝗪𝗵𝗲 multimedia discussion hosted by 𝗪𝗵𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 LLC. These discussions align with 𝗪𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 LLC, our vision and our mission. And our vision is the firm's vision or plans long-term are to build the best frameworks, centralized constructs that enhance economic hubs and support business ecosystems. Our mission, the firm's mission or our calling, is to conserve business constructs and preserve business owners, managers, and administrators through the implementation of quality management solutions. So that's our mission. That's our vision. That's our mission. And so what is 𝗪𝗵𝗲 Talk? 𝗪𝗵𝗲 Talk is a dynamic platform for professionals, innovators, and thought leaders to explore the intersection of technology and business operations. We focus on helping organizations navigate digital transformation and master project management to achieve long-term sustainability. Our core pillars of discussion, subject matter, we dive deep into system integration, business automation, and future tech trends. A major focus is on our 10 core assessment and service, which we encourage businesses to take annually or quarterly to audit their health and delegate effectively. We do the same. Our format and philosophy, we host informal, casual discussions to share like raw insights and lessons learned in the trenches. However, we don't rely on gut feel alone. We use AI and systematic empirical data, right, to stress test these personal experiences that we're sharing. This allows us to move past anecdotal bias and provide you with high integrity, data-backed solutions. Yeah. So the data shift, we believe AI is revolutionizing knowledge management, So our goal is to help you bridge the gap between human intuition and objective and replicable, repeatable measurement, ensuring your business transformation is built on a foundation of facts and not just our stories. Our fun little stories. All right, so who should join? Our content is tailored for business owners, managers, and administrators, consultants who are looking to simplify, consultant and management professionals who look to simplify organizational complexity and optimize their workflows. So how do you connect? If you're listening to me, you're already there. But for those who may catch a snippet on a short or something like that. So where to watch? We're kind of multitasking on these platforms. So we are working. Yeah, I'm working. Hubby, I'm working. He follows me on YouTube. So yeah, he can see I'm working. You working? I'm working too. So we utilize these multitasking platforms to create content while actively serving our market. So where to watch? We are restreaming to YouTube. So we have a space in here to restream and restream as it is feeding out to YouTube. And we are looking to on a partnership with Atomic Agency so that we can expand it to TikTok as well. You see, our TikTok is moving now. I don't know what happened. Well, what don't happen? Well, we got some help. Got some manpower help. Get this moving now. All right. So yeah. In Restream, the setup, we can do a private question and answer, anonymous. I can bring in guests privately if you have a question, but prefer stay out of the public feed. Simply send a chat message on the platform where you see our open office hours. Community. Beyond the stream, I'm an active member of over a dozen entrepreneurial groups, bringing those collective insights kind of back to you. And I have posted on those platforms open office hours during this period of time. So multitasking. I'm working. Content creation, open office hours. Yeah. And pulling some collective insights together. So get some clarity on some things. So yeah, the website, 𝗪𝗵𝗃 Tectonics LLC, is still the hub for all things 𝗪𝗵𝗃 Tectonics. So where all else fails, start there. So if you're looking to connect, to participate, go to the 𝗪𝗵𝗃 Tectonics website and navigate from there. All right. So I think those are all the housekeeping intros. As a generational, and as I mentioned previously, as generational succession plans are put in place, they got the wealth transfer and all that kind of stuff, we will pick up new followers whose needs may be different than the previous owners, managers, and administrators. So you got folks changing hands and everything. So we got new folks coming on board and listening to us. So you may not know me, so let me introduce myself. You can call me Tammy. My family calls me, that's my nickname, in Ohio, in the Buckeye State. So I'm a managing member. I'm one of the managing members at 𝗪𝗵𝗃 Tectonics LLC. I, with over 3 decades leading in high pressure, male dominated arenas from architecture, engineering, construction, facilities, education, technology to ministry. I've built a reputation for being rough around the edges, but fiercely effective. I am an anti-debt, fully bootstrap operator who lives by one mantra: every project must pay for itself. As a seasoned project manager of different types of work and project teams, I know what it takes to build valuable IP, invest in others, and dominate fast-paced industries while often being the only female and only woman of color in the room. I don't just speak with confidence, I lead with it. All that is built on deep roots and intentional work towards wellness, staying in community, and building my faith. Yeah. So, and I did notice on my shorts, the shorts where I was indicating that, yeah, I got 30 years in the field, y'all weren't giving those shorts as much love. I don't know if it's men or women dominating the shorts over there. So, but it's interesting that the shorts where they're emphasizing a woman in a male-dominated field is getting that much love. But all the other content is like, rotating. So I don't think that's a logarithm. That's not the log. That's the folks that actually are consuming that information. So I'm just curious to know, is that men or who snub that, or the majority of those folks women? Curious. I wish the stats could tell me that, the metrics could tell me that, but it won't tell me that, I don't think. I'll have to check. I don't think it gives that dynamic. But in any case, I did notice that. I am taking notice of that, but I'm gonna keep on saying it. Now I'll put it in my intro, so you may not hear it there. You can hear it right here. You're gonna hear it over and over again. So with that said, let's segue into our topic today. We're still talking on the overall topic wellness when everything changes, right? We have this is our third BOMAC Talk 2-hour session where we're talking about what wellness looks like and can be achieved given the challenges of today. And it ties with the theme we have been chanting all last year. We did a year-long study on the universal language of love and last year, and the first quarter of this year we launched that book, and that chant was love God, love yourself, love others. And so it's culminating in the virtual book launch of the universal language of love last month, and about 3 hours of content showcased through like these 6 categories of episodic content on YouTube. So the 6 categories were the universal language of love, executive orders to love, swords up, speaking love scriptures, read, watch, and listen. Whose love story is it? The virtual scavenger hunt, love objects and soul ties. And then last but not least, 52 reasons why I love God, myself, and others. Then we were able to tie in our TikTok calendar content, which includes our girl Luna with the 3 a.m. heart check. So she got in the game as well with our so if you haven't taken in that content, I invite you to mosey on over to our YouTube page, find the Universal Language of Love playlist. It took over our YouTube page during that weekend virtual launch, but so you may not see it front and center anymore because it was just a takeover, weekend over. However, the playlist is still there. It's still active. If you go to the playlist tab and scroll down, you'll find the Universal Language of Love playlist. It is also part of the Universal Language of Management series. It is also included in the Gamma Learning playlist. So Gamma Learning playlist, the Universal Language of Management playlist, as well as its own single playlist, the Universal Language of Love. So play the entire list, get engulfed with it, it'll do you some good. All right, so yeah, so we're still on that theme, different framing, different subject matter, different angles of the issue, bringing in some industry insight on this particular session specific to industry. And so this segment that we're going to dig into today, we'll talk about the return on investment of resilience, why wellness works, why wellness, why not something else, but why wellness works, right? And so the ROI of resilience and why wellness works for establishing a resilient workplace. We made the case for the progressive leader, the mindful manager, and having these, calm projects so that we can take a competitive advantage within the time of uncertainty. So why is wellness the play? And that's not something else, right? So I'm in the role, I guess, in this session, I'll be like the wellness strategist, so I'm all about the strategy. I'm a planner, so we're going to talk about some plans, some plans is going to be in this session. Yeah, so some plan. I'm a planner. I got a plan inside the plan, a backup plan, and a backup to the backup plan. So, so I'm taking the role of a wellness strategist. And so, there's some pivotal moments in my life where this role of the wellness strategist was or became applicable to me. So I go as far back. I'm going back. You say she's going back. Oh man, I shouldn't even put dates on here. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip the dates because I just realized when I said I'm going back, I was like, my transition to college from high school, that was a wellness test. So I was going from small town to so-called big city. Cincinnati was the big city. It was the big city. So now, now I'm like, but then it was big city. And then uh, after maybe 4 or 5 years in college, I began to become ill, and I passed out. I passed out at the wheel of a car and found out I was iron deficient anemic, and I got in. Um, Once I found that out, I had to make I had to be a wellness strategist and make some decisions. And one of the decisions that I made was I was going down south where the weather was warmer so that I could give my body time to recuperate. At the time, um, uh, the the doctor indicated I would have to take iron the rest of my life. I have to take it 3 times a day. I cannot miss it, and all this kind of stuff. My blood count was at 9. It was like 8 or 9. They didn't know how I was actually mobily functioning to even drive a car. And so I didn't want that. I'm like, I'll change my diet. So I changed my diet. I changed uh, I changed my diet. I changed where I lived. I went from, you know, uh, 4 seasons and winter weather of the Buckeye State, and the first place that I went to was Houston, Texas. So it was warmer there. It was hot. I figured I'd get my body, time to recuperate and get a fresh start, because it really threw me the being sick kind of threw me for a loop. So I needed a whole fresh start. And another thing that I did at that time was, as a wellness strategist, was to write a life plan, right? So that was the first time I wrote a life plan. Um, in that life plan, um, it had different sections for health and wellness. It had faith and spiritual enrichment, family and friends. It had things for uh, education, as well as financial. It had, or has, I guess has, things for, well, after time, I added things that were applicable to it, like, you know, as things evolved in life. And so it was always a 1, 3, 5 year plan. And I would update the plan and then go look at it. And it's amazing that when I wrote those things down, that they actually happened. Over time, I was like, oh, I did say that. Some stuff, it was like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? But some of this stuff, it was surprising to know that I had wrote that down after, when I went to go update. I was like, oh, that was in the plan. I was like, I wasn't looking at it every day and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I wasn't tactical about it. um, uh, but it was in my unconscious memory. I read it through once I written it and kind of read it through, and maybe every once in a while I would refresh and maybe look at it. Um, uh, in my unconscious mind, it just kind of intuitively charted to it. So it was amazing to see. But yes, that is where I really got on board to say, okay, I'm going to have to pay attention to my health and make sure that going forward that I'm well, that I'm very intentional about being well. And so that kind of was where I feel like it really started. Was always loved myself and was kind to myself, and had a a life that always charted upward. However, in that moment, I felt feel like that was very transitional. Um, and then in 2000, in the early 2000s, maybe right at the time that I met my husband, I had a nervous system breakdown, and there was no indication that that was going to happen. I was navigating through a degree program, but I had like got straight A's that semester before, and there was no sign of sickness or anything. Just all of a sudden, system just went awry, and um, so I had to deal with those challenges and finish the degree, my degree program. Then in more recent years, I've talked about this in the last sessions, that I had these annual panic attacks. Don't know what's triggering them. don't know what those were about. And so, like I indicated, this wellness strategy, um, um, being my own wellness strategist, has become necessary. It's a necessary activity to make sure that I'm keeping that I'm a well woman. That I'm a well woman. All is well. People ask me, "How you doing?" All is well. All is well. And so part of making sure that all is well is updating that life plan. And so that life plan, like I got a couple of plans here that are structured a little different than mine, and I may update mine to some the formats that um, I'm I'm going to talk about. This one is called the Total Value 5-Year Life Plan, and it has the health and vitality. And specific to me, it talks about diet and the routine care, annual well woman's exams, making sure your meal plans are specific to conditions. And, for me, athletics, I have to do low impact. I don't do a lot of heavy lifting or heavy uh, intense exercise. It has to be low impact. So it's roller skating, swimming, um, things of that sort, volleyball, just low impact stuff. So, and then faith, spiritual enrichment. Um, like I said, this is specific to me. So spiritual systems, making sure those are in place and are aligned with my divine purpose, and faith-based communities involved with, of the 12, I would say of the 12 entrepreneurial groups that I'm a member of, there are one, two, three that are faith-based, that are specifically designate that they are faith-based. And that's helpful. That is helpful for me that I can come full circle and full loop. And having the universal language of love is helpful for me because I can bring that into the work that I do. And so it talks about gave a suggestion for like spiritual retreats and those type of things. I love to travel. That can be seen as a spiritual retreat. But I don't need to go out in like, yeah, the woods or something like that. I love to travel. That's, so that would have to be revised, stuff like that. But then family, friends, relationships, immediate extended family, marriage, those types of things would go into the inner circle. They call the inner circle. Protecting time, protecting friendships, relationships, to make sure you have those value exchanges, and that you are making time, making time for each other, deep diving into conversation and meeting up and nurturing those relationships. So now there, they put trips twice a month. That's what I want to do. Twice a month, from different locations. There is, from the locations that we are in terms of our business locations, we could travel twice a month and never hit the same city twice in a year. So we could travel twice a month and never hit the same city within a 8 to 10 hour radius. Yeah. We could travel twice a month for a whole year and not hit the same city twice. There's that many places that we could go. And so, yeah, I want to do that. But yeah, having that in the life plan, then in addition to, in combination with that, the financial education, if there's some that needs to be there, talks about the, how to budget, 50, 30, 20, or, needs, wants, savings, those types of things. And then education, what your educational goals are. So those items should be in the plan. And then, of course, marriage growth, monthly family meetings, if that's how you do 5-5-5 method. That's the first time I've heard that. 5 minutes each to speak, 5 minutes to dialogue. That's an interesting little technique. But yeah, those, I think that's more than 5 areas. Let me write off that outline again. That is health and wellness, faith and spiritual, family, marriage, family, and friends. That's 3. Okay. And then financial plan. That's 4. And then education. Okay. That's education. So that's 5. That is 5. Okay. All right. So 5 different areas within that growth plan. And then this could be an annual, 3-year, or 5-year plan as you chart. And this is the same kind of format that you would do for a business plan. I mean, not the same format, but frequency that you would do for a business plan. So you got a life plan, then you got a business plan. And both of those are important if there's going to be, some life work they call balance. I don't know if it's balance, but you can at least have a plan, have a plan and have a plan of a plan in place. Yeah. So the return, highly encourage a life plan, and I can say that the return on investment was in regards to doing that life plan. I was able to accomplish goals with lots of clarity. As of today, my blood count is 12. I guess it's been charting 12 for the last maybe 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. It was steady at 11 and some change for the 5 years previous to that. It's been a long haul. It's been a long haul, but many, even a decade, I don't have to take iron 3 times a day. I don't have to take iron 3 times a day. And I went down, like maybe 1 time a day, then, only once a month, those types of things. And so I gradually turned that around to be today where I'm not really considered iron deficient anemic. My physician says, "You're not iron deficient anymore." I'm like, "Oh no." I've claimed it so long that I still say, okay, I still need to watch it. Yeah, I claim the victory over it, but I still need to watch it. I need to watch it knowing that that has been a condition for so long. But that was my return on investment. I was able to, by being my own wellness strategist, I was able to chart a healthy lifestyle for myself that was more conducive to me being well and living life well and seeing my health improve, right? So I can speak to that. Let's shift gears and talk about the return of resilience and why wellness works in the workplace, right? So this is talking about our personal life, which will intersect our workplace, because if your personal life is not planned and it's out of order, then that bleed right into work. You're bringing all that to work. You're bringing all that to work. Okay. All right. So the return of resilience and why wellness works at work. We see that we've made the case that it works, personally. And so let's talk about the workplace. So there's a $1 trillion headache: employee burnout. If you think wellness programs are just about yoga and kale, you're losing money. We're diving into why the return of investment, the ROI of well-being, is the most important metric on your balance sheet this year. That's a statement. Wellness isn't just physical. We're looking at 5 pillars, and we mentioned some of this previously: physical, mental, financial, social, and purpose. This research comes from WorkHuman that shows that when employees feel a sense of social connectedness, retention skyrockets. It's not just a perk, it's a preservation. It's a preservation strategy for your best talent. Hey, they're using my words. They're using our words. All right. All right. So the reality check. This is from a Harvard Medical School study claiming medical costs don't drop overnight. This is their criticism. And they're right about it. But the savings in absenteeism for every dollar spent is not just health, it's operational efficiency. If folks are taking, wellness breaks, a wellness day, or a so-called sick day, they just need to be out of the office in Woosah, then the dispute is that loss is higher than implementing a wellness program. So it's a matter of that bottom line. And so this is the case for change. How do we make the case for change? Why do we need, the risk is, why do we need to change? And then managing that change, right? And so here the argument is saying that we're introducing a well-being gap, which highlights that 80% of large businesses offer programs, but only 24% of employees feel their employer truly cares about their wellness. Now, an employer caring about your wellness and having a wellness program, to me, is two different things. if you have a wellness program that's an effective wellness program, then I feel like you care about me. You care. Even if I don't see you, even if you're not present and everything, the fact that you put the infrastructure in place. But that's me, because I feel like I'm in the business of doing that, right? So that's subjective to me. That's not objective. But in any case, the burnout and the bottom line is the problem. This is the case that we're making for a change. And so the cost, the so-called cost of burnout, is roughly 15 to 20% of payroll budgets annually. The loss, the opportunity loss, is 20 million for every 10,000 workers due to low well-being. And these are some stats that have been put together. And I have some examples, because I talked about this previously when I did the McKinsey report, that there's just ongoing data on this, or reports, recent reports. So I pulled up some other ones as well that I wanted to read. And we're in the last week, I think it was Engineers Week. Was it? Yeah, I think it's Engineers Week. This week it's Women in Construction Week. It's Women in Construction Week. And yeah, I'm in that industry too, architecture, engineering, construction. So yeah, so you're gonna hear me talking about my ears and that too this week too. All right, so this I pulled from one of the Women in Construction newsletter off their website, and it talks about women in some of the challenges that women in construction face. It's similar or along the lines of the video we posted on the Twitter page, the 𝗪𝗵𝗲 Twitter page. We also put some items there from women in construction. But let me just read this. It's a paragraph out of an article. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just this paragraph. Women in construction frequently encounter harassment and bias in a male-dominant industry. These challenges can include inappropriate comments, exclusion from opportunities, and a lack of respect from peers and supervisors. Furthermore, achieving work-life balance remains a significant hurdle, as women often bear the brunt of household responsibilities in addition to their demanding construction work schedules. The She Builds Nation 2024 report highlights that the lack of support for these dual roles can result in stress and burnout, creating a more inclusive culture where women are supported, empowered, and treated equally is essential for the mental health of women in construction roles. Addressing bias and providing flexible work options are crucial so women can continue to work without compromising their mental health and their families' well-being. And then the article goes on to talk about gender-friendly bathrooms, PPE for women in construction, health and safety issues, and other trending items. That's just construction. Let's look at another one. This one is actually from one of the AI professionals that we follow. We have with AI trending, we have some ones that are leaders in that market, and so we follow them. And this is one of the creators or influencers, what you want to call it, posted this. She said, "Creator burnout is hitting solopreneurs harder than ever." She breaks down in a video proven strategies that help solo creators maintain their mental health and build their sustainable businesses. And so this is, when I first saw this, I was, because most of the AI influencers are talking about saving us time. They're going to save you time. They're going to save you time. And then for this to come up, burnout survival strategies, shift from vanity to value, strategic break method, take breaks, create systems, not just workflows, but systems that assist you. And so these are some of the tips that she's giving, and even how to recognize your burnout warnings. So using AI, using AI. So even in the midst of saving time, creators are experiencing burnout. Okay, and so this is an article published on February 9th. The first signs of burnout are coming from the people who embrace AI the most. Is the title of that one. And it reads, the researchers' new findings aren't entirely novel. A separate trial last summer found experienced developers using AI tools took 19% longer on tasks, while believing they were 20% faster. Around the same time, a National Bureau of Economic Research study tracking AI adoption across thousands of workplaces found that productivity gains amounted to just 3% in time savings, with no significant impact on earnings or hours worked in any occupation. But both studies have been gotten picked apart. Of course it did, right? Because I know I save time. I know I've saved time, but but I have admitted that my saving time also brought in a new dynamic that I have to manage. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off, and I like the trade-off. Don't get me wrong, I like the trade-off. I will figure this out. I'll figure that out. I like the trade-off. So that article continues to say, as one engineer told them, you had thought that maybe, because you could be more productive with AI, then you save some time, you can work less. But then really you don't work less, you just work the same amount or even more. And that's what I indicated. Like, if something takes you a month and you get it done in a day, then you're just gonna do more. You're gonna fill it up with more stuff. More stuff. And even when you fill it up with more stuff on your particular role, you still can't outpace AI. One of the manufacturing, one of the AI tools in manufacturing that test, I think it's doing fatigue tests, or reliability fatigue tests on mechanical parts, and the number of tests that it's doing in a revolution in comparison to previously is in the hundreds of thousands. No person can outpace the amount of work that the AI is accounting for at that level. And so, I don't believe in, working at the pace of AI. I'll let AI do its thing, and then I'll come alongside where I fit in and get in where I fit in. Because it's you're going to be doing more. You're going to be doing more work. But I don't mind that. You just have to put it in a framework where it makes sense for human work, and the capacity of the humans doing the work, right? So then it goes to say, over on the tech industry forum Hacker News, one commenter had the same reaction, writing, I feel this, since my team has jumped into an AI everything, working style. Expectations have tripled. Stress has tripled. Actual productivity has only gone up by maybe 10%. It feels like leadership is putting immense pressure on everyone to prove their investment in AI is worth it, and we all feel the pressure to try to show them it is while actually having to work longer hours to do so. So that's their this is feedback. This is feedback. I feel our return on investment has been huge using AI. Like I said, I like the trade-off. There is a trade-off there, and there is new things to manage. And if it's not managed appropriately, yes, burnout, like I talked about in the previous work overload, role confusion, role overlap, when role definitions aren't clear and work is not defined, clear revision of roles is not defined. So this is both. It's true. This is true too. They're both things are true at the same time. Or changing at the same time. All right. So that is in the AI industry, which is new to all of us. I have some articles here from healthcare. So this is about burnout in healthcare. And one of the reasons we went into healthcare tech was because of how we had to be our own wellness strategists. And that included managing that while traveling. My husband's like a traveling engineer. And I traveled with him. And so every place they went, I still had to maintain my health regimen my health regimen. And it was hard to get my previous records, and I had to get them printed out, all the doctors there for the new doctors. And so I had these binders, these huge binders where I had all these printouts and my latest tests and all these types of things. And this is, prior, now we have my chart and all those types of things. This is at that time, over those periods of times, there was nothing like my chart. And even my chart is limited now. It's only regional, in regional places, to be able to connect it. And so that's why I had went into healthcare tech, and we created that health record, health record card, USB. That's where that idea came from, that I should be able to, wherever I go, have them download my information onto this device, and I could take it with me wherever I go and have my health information. Why do I have to go in there and pay $5 a page, $3 a page, $2 a page to get my records so that I can stay healthy as I go to the next physician or next place or to connect? And so things like my chart has improved that situation, but there's still disconnects between the main family physician, labs now are their own fees and all those types of things, and then the specialized, the what do you call them, specialists. So all the specialists and their data going back to the family physician, making sure that he has all the information from everybody else, so that you have a full snapshot of your health, not just pieces of a piece that's got their piece, and they're not going to give up their piece unless you pay them X amount of dollars so that you can take that piece and put it with the other pieces of the puzzle. And so that's the customer side, what I was experiencing on the customer side. But then yet and still within the industry, I would see more and more that I couldn't see my physician. I would be seeing someone else, someone they were training or something like that. And so this idea that there is a shortage, felt that firsthand. Complexity in billing, yeah, all of that. Complexity in building, complexity in billing, the between physicians, specialists, labs, and even facilities. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me go back to the burnout because that's like a whole healthcare tech situation, conversation, and we are coming up on to take a break. So let me at least finish this portion of it. Okay. So burnout in healthcare. There is a report with ABC News. This came out February 20th that talked about, it was a report talking about avoiding burnout by taking these mini sabbaticals. So that's a sabbatical project, and the employees and the company buy in to this idea of taking these mini sabbaticals. And I've done that with employers before. I'm working 80 hours a week or so. Hey, I've had employers, you can take a week off. You can take a week off. We got done. We got this thing done. So that did work. I took a week off and I didn't even miss a beat when I came back. It's just like, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think like, oh, somebody's gonna, no, it wasn't any of that. And so, that's one idea. Another idea for healthcare was patient. An innovative clinic is doing a different business model where the doctor-patient relationship, they're called agents of change. And so they're doing a different doctor-patient model to avoid burnout and to make healthcare more affordable. One report in Daily Health, NBC News, talks about AI helping doctors manage burnout through the technology, where it's doing pre-checkout, taking over tasks like note-taking and those types of things. Small tasks, but still tedious if you have to do it every day. Then there is one. I want to get to the beginning of this one. There's one doctor who talks about building a framework to fight burnout. And he calls it the PID system: preparation, intentionality, and differentiation. Intentionality is where burnout starts to decline. You decide what gets your energy. And what about the other one? He also, one of the things he said that I thought was like, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, this is the beginning of it. Okay, so he's a leadership coach and he explores why burnout happens. Why traditional fixes often fall short. His concepts are deliberate rest, autonomy, leadership skills play a meaningful role. But he talks about this zone of genius, and we speak to that too. we feel like that as well, that when you're in your zone of genius, it doesn't feel like work. You could be working, 12 hours or what have you, and it doesn't feel like anything because you're in your zone of genius, and it's just not feeling like work. When you are when you most of the time having difficulty is because you're doing work that isn't in that zone of genius. And this is what he is indicating, that why doctors are exhausted. They have taken on work that they do not enjoy. And I was like, oh, that seems so simple. But that is what he is prescribing, is that they shift to specialties and industries that give them a sense of joy in doing that work. And then that ties into another gal who's in another group that I am in. She has a book about joy, and she has, I had commented on LinkedIn on one of her interviews within the industry, the AEC industries. And she talks about using joy to alleviate stress and burnout. And that's another fruit of the spirit. So, yeah, joy of the Lord is our strength. And so she uses that. She also talks about resilience in regards to the workplace. I've found some information on that. 5 key skills that she indicates: emotional intelligence, adaptability, problem solving, effective communication, and self-care. And like I said, most of these things sound so practical. It's just like, okay, there's no big aha moment there. But then again, when you're not doing it, it's aha to you. So, okay, so we are up on the first hour. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we are going to go into some of the 5 pillars of a successful wellness program. We're going to pull like a outline for that and kind of talk about that. All right. So 5-10 minute break, and we'll be back after that.